Alright, let's jump right into today's explainer. We're going on a micro safari. आज हम एक ऐसी दुनिया एक्सप्लोर करने वाले हैं जो हमारी आंखों से तो नहीं दिखती, पर हमारे वजूद का सबसे बड़ा हिस्सा है. We're talking about the absolutely incredible world of plant and animal tissues. Whether you're a student, a curious mind, or just someone fascinated by how life actually works under the hood, this journey is going to completely change how you view the living things around you.
So let's start with a super simple question. Have you ever actually stopped to think about your everyday actions? I mean, जब आप पल के झपकाते हैं या गहरी सांस लेते हैं, what makes you blink, breathe and feel? What is literally doing the heavy lifting inside you? Or for that matter, how does a tiny little seedling grow into a massive, towering tree? The secret? It all comes down to microscopic teams of cells working perfectly in sync.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll be looking at building blocks, plants versus animals, how plants grow, permanent jobs, tissues inside you, and finally, a little something called totipotency. Don't worry, हम इनको बिल्कुल simple और visually clear तरीके से break down करेंगे. Let's get into it.
Section 1. Building blocks, the division of labor. You see, in complex organisms like us, nature created this brilliant division of labor, where similar cells group together into tissues just to make the whole body highly efficient.
Moving on to Section 2. Plants versus animals, the big divide.
So, even though plants and animals are both multicellular, their internal architecture is completely different. Q? Well, because their daily survival demands entirely different things. पौधे एक ही जगह खड़े रहते हैं, right? Plants are stationary. And because they don't move, their main challenge is just standing upright against gravity, wind, and rain. So they absolutely need rigid support, which is exactly why plant cells have tough cell walls. On the flip side, animals move around to find food and escape predators. उन्हें locomotion के लिए flexibility चाहिए. Therefore, animal cells drop that rigid cell wall, giving their bodies the flexibility required to walk, run, and jump.
Section 3. How do plants grow? Meet the construction workers. Let's focus on the plants first. You've probably noticed that if a grazing animal eats some grass, it just grows right back, or that a tree trunk gets much thicker over the years. This happens because of very specific tissues dedicated solely to growth, like the plant's gam carnivale, or construction workers. We call these meristematic tissues. If you place an onion bulb in a jar of water, you can literally watch this in action. Observe it over a few days and you'll see the roots continuously growing longer. But here's the catch. If you snip off the very tips of those roots, the growth stops completely. This proves that these actively dividing meristematic cells aren't just everywhere. They are hyperlocalized right at the growing tips.
In fact, there are 3 distinct types of these construction worker tissues. First up is the apical meristem, found right at the tips of roots and shoots. Its whole job is to increase length. The second is the lateral meristem, found along the sides of the stem. इसका काम है stem की मोटाई या girth को बढ़ाना. And finally, the intercalary meristem, which hangs out at the base of leaves or stems in plants like grasses. यही वो tissue है जो grass को दोबारा grow करने में help करता है after animals graze on it.
But here is a fascinating question for you. What actually happens when these cells grow up? I mean, they can't divide forever, right? Eventually, these newly formed cells stop dividing and they take on a specialized, permanent job in the plant. This graduation process, where a dividing cell becomes a specialized working cell, is called differentiation. Which brings us to Section 4, Tissues with Permanent Jobs, Categorizing the Complex.
Once a cell has differentiated, its days of rapid division are totally over. Now it's time to go to work supporting, protecting, or feeding the plant. We can break down these simple permanent tissues into 3 main types. First is parenchyma. These are living, thin-walled cells that store food. In aquatic plants, they even create little air spaces to help the plant float. Next up is collenchyma. These cells have thickened corners that act almost like rubber, giving the plant flexibility so stems and tendrils can bend around without snapping. Finally, we have sclerenchyma. These cells are thick, hard, and actually mostly dead. Soch kar dekhen nariyol ke chilke ko? That hard coconut husk? That is made of sclerenchyma, providing maximum strength and protection.
So, the crucial takeaway here is, while simple tissues handle structural support, complex permanent tissues handle the plant's internal logistics. Think of this as the plant's plumbing and food delivery system. The xylem pulls water and minerals all the way up from the roots. The phloem, on the other hand, ये phloem पत्तियों में बने हुए खाने को, यानी food को, plant के अलग-अलग हिस्सों तक sieve tubes के जरिए deliver करता है. Section 5. The tissues inside you. Protection and connection.
Okay, let's shift gears and see how this builds into something a bit more familiar, our own bodies. Animal tissues are incredibly diverse just because our bodies have to perform such dynamic, high-energy tasks. Let's look at how we handle internal protection and physical connection. Meet your body's ultimate security guard, the epithelial tissue. These are tightly packed cells with barely any space between them. They form the outer covering of your body, your skin, and they also line your internal organs, your mouth, and even your blood vessels. Anka main kam head germs or microbes go body ke under anise rokna, or internal organs ke beach friction ko kam karna.
Now, what's absolutely amazing to me is how these epithelial cells literally physically change their shape based on their specific job. If they need to protect you from cuts and scrapes, like on your skin, they arrange themselves in many flat, tight layers. But if their job is absorption, like lining your small intestine, they stretch into tall, pillar-like cells to maximize surface area. And if they have a sensory job, like in your inner ear or nasal passage, they even grow tiny little hairs called cilia.
Then we have connective tissue, which literally connects and supports the body from head to toe. The most fascinating thing about connective tissue is its matrix, basically the substance that the cells sit inside. Blood and bone are both connective tissues, lekin dono kitne alag hain. Blood has this watery, fluid matrix so it can easily flow and transport oxygen and nutrients. Bone, on the other hand, has a completely solid, rigid matrix so it can support your entire body weight. Same exact tissue category, entirely different physical states.
And finally, Section 6, the magic of totipotency, a biological marvel. As we wrap up our micro safari today, I want to bring you right back to the plant world. We talked earlier about cells stopping their division and taking on permanent jobs, right? Well, nature has this absolute magic trick up its sleeve. Under the right conditions, some mature, highly specialized plant cells can actually hit reverse. Step 1, they de-differentiate, meaning they suddenly regain the ability to divide all over again. Step 2, they multiply into a mass of unspecialized cells. And step 3, they re-differentiate and literally form a completely new whole plant. Ek single cell se pura ka pura pauda wapas ban sakta hai. I mean, no way, right? This mind-blowing superpower is called totipotency.
This superpower showcases the sheer, raw potential locked inside the microscopic world. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a single specialized plant cell holds the complete blueprint and the mechanical ability to rebuild a whole organism from scratch, what secrets, what incredible potential are hiding right now in your own cells? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Until next time, keep exploring.